Hey everyone, welcome back to the Analytical Coding. Are you tired of manually comparing this month's sales with the previous one in Power BI? So in this video, I will show you powerful time intelligence functions that make time-based comparison effortless. And yes, these functions are not just theory, they are gold in interviews too. Firstly, what are time intelligence functions? So the time intelligence allows us to analyze the data over time, like comparing this month's sales to the last month, calculating the year to date totals, or tracking weekly trends. So, before we start, a quick reminder, make sure your date table contains continuous dates and it is marked as a date table in Power BI, and there should be a relationship to the main table and the date table. And I have covered what are date hierarchies and how to mark as date table in my previous video. So, link is in the description. So, let's get into the time intelligence functions. First one is previous day. So, this function returns a table that contains date from the day before the current context date. So, this function takes one argument, that is a column containing the dates, and this function returns a table with the previous date value. And let us see an example to understand that quickly. Before that, here in this table I have added the dates and then order amount for the dates. And now I have created a measure where I am calculating the sum of orders amount and given the filter as previous day of the cal auto date. And whenever I add this measure into this table, it will calculate the sum of orders amounts for the previous day. So let us check that. So you can see here, whenever I add the previous day, for third, as this is the first order date, there is no previous day and hence it is showing the blank value. And then after, you can see the previous day's sales amount and you can see it is matching with the orders amount which we have displayed here, right? So this is about the previous day. And similarly, we are having next day where we are calculating the next day of the provided date. That is, here also it is taking single argument and that is the column containing the dates. And this function returns a table that is one day after the current date context. And coming to the example where we are calculating the sum of orders amount and taking the function next day. And here, whenever we add that particular measure into our table, so here you can see, so for the date 2, the next day's sales are 3184. That is the sum of orders amount value on that day. And you can see the next day value is getting reflected correctly, right? So this is about the next day function. And now let us move to the previous month function. So this function returns a table with all the dates from the previous month in the current context. So coming to its syntax, so it is also similar to the previous day and next day, which takes single argument of dates, that is a column containing dates, and returns the table of dates from the last month. So I have created a measure for this as well, that is previous month. So here I am calculating the sum of orders amount and taking the previous month functions for the date. So this previous month returns all the dates of the previous month, and whenever I add this into the table, and here you can see for January we are having 78466 value, that is sum of order amount, and whenever we add the previous month function, that value is getting displayed for the Feb month, right? So this is calculating the previous month sales. And similarly, we are having the next month function. So this also takes this single argument and returns the dates from the next month based on the current context. So for this, I have created a measure that takes the sum of orders amounts and taking the next month. Let us add this into our table. So now you can see for Jan we are getting the next month sales, that is Feb sales, into the next month measure. So that is about the previous month and next month. Now let us move ahead into the previous quarter. So here previous quarter also returns all the dates from the quarter before the current context quarter. So this takes a single argument with date and it returns all the dates from the previous quarter. Here we are having quarters in this table and sum of orders amount. And now let us add the previous quarter measure into this table. And here you can see for quarter 2, the previous month's sales are being displayed. Again for quarter 3, the previous sales are displayed. And coming to the next function, that is the next quarter function. So similar to that of previous quarter, this next quarter function returns all the dates from the next quarter from the specified current context. Okay. So similarly, I have written a measure for that next quarter as well and adding that into the table. And now you can see this 55451, which is the quarter 2 sales in the quarter 1 next quarter, right? So that is about the previous quarter and next quarter. And moving into the next function, that is previous year. So here, this previous year function, it takes two arguments. That is, first one is dates, which is similar to that of all the other functions which we have seen. And the second argument. So this is the optional one, that is why it is specified in the square brackets. And here we can provide optionally which is the year end date. Like we can provide 31st March if it is the year end date. So the default one is 31st December is the default year end date. Now, so this previous year function returns a table with dates from the previous year based on the current context. And here I am adding the year. So I have written a measure for this as well where I am calculating the sum of order amount for previous year. And here I have mentioned the 31st March as the year end date. Okay. Now let us add that. So whenever we add this previous year into our table, you can see for quarter 1, we can see there is a blank because we are not having any data for the previous year. Whereas for quarter 2, 3, 4, we are getting the total sales from the quarter 1. That means we have provided 31st March as the year end date, right? And it is considering 31st March as the year end and then it is calculating this sales as the previous year sales for the remaining quarters. You can see that, right? Similarly, we are having the next year function. So this function returns dates from the next year based on the current context. So similar to that of previous year, it is taking two arguments, date and year end date. And here I have written a measure. So where we are calculating the sum of orders amount for the next year, like taking the next year function. And here I have given the 31st March as the year end date again. And now, so whenever we add this next year as well into the table, and here you can see for the quarter 1, we are getting the quarter 2 value as the next year's value because we have provided 31st March as the year end date and the remaining quarters are comes into the next year and hence the total value which is 55451 is being displayed in this next year. And now what if we delete this year end date? And whenever we delete this year end date from the next year, you can see this is returning blank for quarter 1 as well because it is considering all these quarters belong to 2025. So that is about the next year. And now let us add a column chart. You can see I have added the column chart and on the x-axis I have given the month and on the y-axis I have given the previous month, present month and next month measures. And here you can see the difference clearly. For Jan, it is 78466 and for February, it is the same for the previous month. And now, as we have covered these time intelligence functions, let us see one of the interview questions. That is, how would you calculate month over month growth in Power BI using DAX? So coming to the solution, firstly, let us understand what is month over month, right? So this month over month compares a value in the current month with the same value from the previous month. So it is usually expressed as a percentage change or a difference. So here in this column chart, we can see that difference in terms of these bars, right? But what if we want in terms of percentages or differences? So for that, we are using this month over month percentage. And why do business need this? So first point is to track the performance trends. Like, are the sales going up or down compared to the last month? And the second point, to identify seasonal patterns. So it is helpful in spotting the regular monthly fluctuations. And the third point, to take the quick business decisions. So it helps management how current strategies are working. So coming to the solution, how we calculate month over month growth. So we will be calculating it in two steps. First one, we will be calculating the difference between the present month and the previous month sales. And then we are dividing this difference with the previous month's sales. And here I have used this divide function, and which takes the optional argument where we can provide a value when there is an error like division by zero error, and I have given no previous month. Okay, now let us add this into this table. So now you can see that we can see this month over month growth in this table, right? So for the Jan, we are getting the no previous month as we do not have previous month, which returns the error, but we have handled it in that function itself, right? So in this way, we can calculate any period over period growth like month over month, day over day. We have covered all the time intelligence functions, and if you found this video helpful, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.